Hello, fellow Araxians, welcome back. My name is Commander Cyrious. Well, what to do? Oshur came out, and it's been mixed results. A lot of players log off when they see it. In my opinion, it's more people don't know how to have fun on Oshur. So I'm going to give you guys a few ideas of what you can do. You got to break out of your comfort zone and play a little bit differently, but there are tons of fun ways to play on Oshur. We'll get some update on the hotfix. We'll talk about boats a little bit, and we will go underwater. I'll see you Planetside, soldiers. Okay, guys, so the best thing to do to have fun on Oshur is when you get there, the first thing you do is open the map, and then you hit the drop-down menu and click on any continent that doesn't begin with O and hit warp. No, I'm just kidding. Give me a minute, hear me out on why Oshur is fun. I know that's what a lot of you try to do. I was very much the skeptic. I saw no point in adding more continents. I feel like there's so much terrain of the existing continents that barely gets used. Why not work on unlocking that potential than trying to do a whole new one? But for me, Oshur has really converted me. I see the potential for continents to create battle flow in different ways than my idea of messing with a hex lattice hybrid. And Oshur really does that by creating channels through this archipelago island system. The trouble is, a lot of players are getting stuck in these either brutal trident fights or interlink fights that are really explosive, spammy, zergy type of bases. And I'm kind of like, well, you want to biolabs back, it's the same exact stalemate. No, the ability to break in the powerhouse did not make them significantly more unique than the interlinks. So anyways, on to ideas for fun. First of all, most of the bases, other than interlinks and tridents, have the opportunity to play effectively solo or in small groups, even if you're significantly overpopped. Here we're at nascent shipping and storage. The enemy population is spread all over from the teleporter at the top to the main spawn down at the bottom. Very easy to sneak out and just start doing battle in the middle of the base through the rocky cliffs and having a good fun fight. I encourage you to not get hung up on the idea of territory control, meaning whether you're winning or not on Oshur. If that's going to be your parameter here, it's going to be really hard to find fun fights. So take a minute and enjoy how you can break out into these open field bases, in these big wide bases, and find some fights no matter what the population difference is. Infiltrator with a hunter cloak is obviously great for this. You can cover long distances invisible. You've got intel, and you can bring anti-vehicle work in your secondary slot. But engineers with an archer, carapace combat medics all do really well as well. So often on Indar or Amarish or Esamir, you're stuck fighting in that good old tech plant or that L building or the Crescent building, fights you've had a billion times. Oshur has significantly more opportunities for open field fights or fights on arenas or fields of play that you've never actually played in before. So it's a new, unique experience that actually feels a little bit different and new. Okay. Next way to have fun on Oshur, and this is going to be a little bit controversial, but it really is fun if you're willing to put yourself into it. It will also teach you how to avoid and counter it if you actually play it yourself a bit. And that is construction and the flail. Let's start with the flail. This is a piece of artillery that uses a laser-guided target designator. It shoots a lot like the Infiltrator's recon dart. It has a 600 meter range, and its area of effect is much smaller than, say, an orbital strike, but is deadly to anything within that range. You start by pulling an ant and mining 10,000 cordium. Find a good place to start your base. I usually pick off to the side of the main drag. Remember, your flail has a 600 meter range. Throw about half of it in the silo, and then use the rest to build your flail, your AI module, and a spawn point. Takes 45 seconds from placing for things to finish construction. Once the AI module affects the flail, you can grab the target designator. Use your ant, or if it's a respawn, make sure you have a flash in your tactical slot. head towards combat, tightly knit enemies are your main target. Word of warning to friendlies and enemies. Yes, sometimes there is the target reticle on your minimap. You can see it, where it's coming from, but that doesn't always render. The big thing to look for is green smoke. If you see green smoke anywhere, move away. You will die whether it's a friendly or enemy flail bombardment. As far as I can tell, there is no range for shooting the flail targeting dart like there is for an orbital strike. There just is a lot of drop, so you have to aim way up if you're trying to shoot something pretty far. The hardest part of the flail is really not implementation on the battlefield. That's kind of point and shoot. It's timing the fights. For every time you get a good farm with the flail, you've probably built 10 different flail bases that didn't really pan out. What you're looking for first and foremost is a Zerg on the map. 48 plus at minimum, 96 plus is ideal, steamrolling down the lane. Next, you're looking for a lane that's got ideally at least 2 open field bases strung together. There's a big no deploy construction zone around regular bases that you can't fire into. So build your artillery platform accordingly. When that Zerg really starts rolling, you're going to need either to be off to the side enough that they don't bother coming over to get you, and you can lay into them while they're waiting around at a capture point. Or you need to build in such a way that your own friendlies have conjured up enough force to sort of face them and slow them down. So you have a target that's relatively stationary, and you can start laying in them and really turn the tide of battle as an individual person with this weapon. Be prepared for a substantial amount of rage tells. After Araxiamine, this weapon, I definitely think it needs some tuning. Even though it has the handicap of not being able to fire into bases, its impact on the open field fights is just too massive in its current state. But you do want to get an opportunity to use it before it gets nerfed, because it is a hell of a lot of fun. Next, guys, underwater fights. First of all, if you are the defender, please do not hop right off the platform and drift slowly down as easy target practice for the enemy. Take a minute. You can direct pull from the sea post, either a flash if you're broke on nanites, or I like to bring out the boat, because why not? It's a boat. The beauty of this is the defenders don't have to tack from one angle like the spawn room of the biolab. They get to drop on the backside, on the side, right in the middle. They can come down wherever they want. And then don't just drift down. Make sure you've unlocked the propulsion device in your tactical slot and have it equipped, and drive yourself to where you need to be with that. This is not something you buy with merit. You just use your certs for the tactical slot item. And it is a really interesting way to create mobility in underwater combat. The gunplay slows down a lot. It's not about juking and hopping around and chugging medkits. Although carapace medics can still do a decent job at that underwater. It's about positioning with your propulsion device, engaging and finishing them off. So again, guys, I kind of ignore the map a lot. I really am looking for sea post fights. If I see 12 to 24 in a sea post, I am going to find a way to get engaged. It might just be boats coming overhead, an armada, but hey, that's fun too. Get into a boat battle. Speaking of boat combat, ladies and gentlemen, the aerial insertion capabilities of the Corsair are second to none. Remember, if you need to get some extra distance, bring your drifters. Do not touch the directional buttons. That'll kill your momentum. Turn to the side and just boost yourself along in your drifters as long as you need to go. Otherwise, feel free to kill your momentum with the directional keys whenever you want. With a little bit of practice, you can get the hang of it using engineers, medics, etc. But the direction ability of the light assault is terrific for those Corsair insertions. Whether you're just spawning in for an interlink assault or you're taking out a player-made base, it is a lot of fun shooting around from the Corsair launch ability. And then on top of that, get into some open water naval combat situations. The repair gals can drift just below the water. The Corsairs can skirt around the peninsulas and the islands, hiding in the coves. And then what I think is the funnest part, if you bring your underwater weapons along, when the Corsairs clash and some of the boats die, all the infantry sink to the bottom, and then an impromptu infantry battle pursues on the sea floor. So make sure you're ready for that final part of it. If you're more of a solo player, it's still fun to hop in the open platoon, and then you can just kind of follow along with the open platoon, find a boat with an empty seat, launch into some combat, C4 a few guys, sneak a few kills in there, and then fall back in with the team after you've had a little bit of fun. Again, the possibilities really are quite endless. So guys, break out of your comfort zone a little bit. Try some fights you wouldn't normally hit. Okay, real quick before I go, we are going to jump into the patch notes. This is the Surf and Store hotfix on July 20th of 2022. The first big changes are on performance. Lit particle effects were causing some drastic slowdowns. Had issues with some flickering and stuttering on medium. Render quality settings other than 1 were causing issues. So they corrected a lot of that stuff. Thermal sights should now be fixed, so you can go back to using your implant, your vehicle sights, or your infradyne. The current summer event, it's the second round of the season, was originally slated to be done on the 20th, today, the day the video is released. It has now been extended through the 27th of July. The NC Max's GS shield would sometimes remain in the up position for third-party clients, even though you couldn't see it in first person. That's been fixed. They cleaned up a lot of floating props that wasn't anchored firmly to the terrain. And there's a lot of other miscellaneous, not quite as impactful fixes that went along with those. The V42 Pariah, that's the Vanu Sovereignty specific weapon, got a buff. Minimum cone of fire went from 0.2 down to 0.1. Maximum cone of fire went from 0.5 to 0.4. And its bloom recovery rate was doubled. They did a pass and cleaned up a lot of things with the Corsair. The biggest one, though, is the Basilisk audio has been made more efficient, so audio dropout issues should be less prevalent when fighting in large-scale battles. So your sound may work for longer than 15 minutes when you play Planetside. That would be pretty exciting. Those are the key points. I'll throw a link to the patch notes down in the description. You can catch the other smaller details. But that'll be it for now, fellow Araxians. Thank you for watching. I hope you can find some fun on Oshur. I know I sure have. And until next time, I will see you Planetside.